Yes!
Welcome to Our Weird World. I'm your host, John Henson, and today, continuing kind of our inadvertent two-parters. Like, I feel like every single episode this month has been part two of a theme that we've done, previously. And that's going to continue, and I'm excited for this one because I get to whip out this bad boy. Oh, God, yes. It's probably one of the favorite songs I have ever created. I'm so glad we got to use that so much. But we're not done. This song's not done. We got to break it down. All right?
It's the summer of course.
Got to really feel it. Got to really get in our feelings here. Oh, yeah. Get real culty. Got to finish strong.
It's the summer of course. 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 Yeah. It's the summer of course. Yeah. It's the summer of course. 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 Oh yeah. It's the summer of course. It's the summer of course. Yeah. It's the summer of course. Oh yeah. It's the summer of course. Oh yeah. It's the summer of course. Give the summer of course. Give the summer of course. Give the summer of course. It's the summer of course.
Okay, there we go. Oh, I think in the, what was it, like 10 weeks of Summer of Cults last year, I never played the back half of that song. But in classic me fashion, I've got to beat the living hell out of that dead horse joke. All right. And go on for way too long until you get annoyed. You probably skipped it, started, and then you skipped ahead 30 seconds multiple times, and then you came back and I'm talking again. So then you got to go back and try to figure out when I started talking again so you don't miss anything. That's what I do. I ruin things because it's funny for me to do that. Anyway, I just wanted to play that song because hadn't had a chance to in almost a full year, but we are looking at 3 more stories today of different people who were cult leaders or just cults in general. We are looking at Good News International Ministries, Sachiko Eto, and our first story will be of Michael Ryan.
Story
time. Story time. Story time? Story time.
So we'll start with Michael Ryan, and astute listeners of the program will know that back on episode 108, we talked about Michael Ryan. He was actually in the Morbid Massacres, the first one, part one of that we did last week, but he was in that original episode. And that Michael Ryan was a dude in England, and he just decided to just go and shoot up the village that he lived in. And it took police forever to just kind of track him down, and he was just shooting people all willy-nilly in the streets and burned his house down, all kinds of stuff. It's crazy. Well, this Michael Ryan, different guy, was born in 1948, but eventually dropped out of high school and took a variety of menial jobs to support his wife and children. After a back injury forced him to give up his job as a truck driver, which also, like, how bad does your back have to be to not be able to even be a truck driver? That's just sitting all day. And granted, like, I know some back injuries, actually, it's weird. Like, people feel better standing up than sitting down, but truck driver seats, I feel like, are really comfortable because they have to be, because you're sitting in them all day. I don't know. Or maybe they're not, because you're sitting in them all day. You got to stay alert. I don't know. Anyway, forget it. After he lost his job as a truck driver, he started smoking weed and embarked on a spiritual journey to try to overcome all of the challenges in his life. And I get that to a degree. Like, drugs are cool. So most of them, some of them, you know, and I think when I legally decided to try those out legally, I must say legally, because legally I was. The first time I did it was in Massachusetts and where it was legal. But, like, I feel like it helped a lot of things in a lot of different ways. So, like, I get going that route. But for Ryan's case, instead of finding Jesus or Buddha or some other sort of peaceful religion, he found the Christian identity movement, which, ironically, probably not super cool with him doing weed, but fine. But the Christian identity people, they promote anti-Semitism and other racially motivated theologies. For example, their whole thing is that the Celtic and Germanic peoples, like Anglo-Saxon, Nordics, the Aryan people, Nazis, they are the actual descendants of the ancient Israelites and are therefore God's chosen people. Do they have anything solid to back this up? Not really. But that's just kind of what they think. They also believe that Adam and, like, all of his offspring were definitely 100% pasty white and not, I don't know, Middle Eastern. They also believe in this sort of two-house theology. Basically, there's a distinction between the tribe of Judah and the 10 lost tribes. And ultimately, all of the European people represent the 10 lost tribes. I don't even know what the 10 lost tribes are. It's probably just 10 tribes that someone made up to include white people and other people that weren't brown. They also believe that the banks are controlled by the Jews, so they oppose, like, the Federal Reserve and the use of currency like that. They think it's the mark of the beast, all this kind of dumb stuff. Like, they're a real paranoid, dumb group of people who also probably own a lot of guns. And here's the crazy one. Like, there could be as many as, like, 50,000 of them in the United States right now. So that's not cool. But, like, I mean, they're probably mostly, like, up in Idaho, Montana. Like, that's where those people kind of go, because most of society is smart enough to not want to deal with them. But Michael Ryan, he was in it. He thinks it's the bee's knees. And he started attending rallies in Kansas held by James Wickstrom, who really combined his anti-Semitism with anti-government beliefs while also, ironically, promoting a traditional kosher diet. he taught Ryan about the arm test, which was this totally made up thing in which Wickstrom would hold a person's arm and ask God, who they referred to strictly as Yahweh, and they would ask them a yes or no question about God's will for that man's life. If the answer was no, the arm would drop. And if the answer was yes, the arm would stay up, because God would be controlling the arm, not the person whose arm was in. Dumb. The catch, however, or I guess actually it wasn't the person who owned the arm. It was actually Wickstrom had full control over the person's arm at all times and could manipulate the answers how he wanted, which is crazy, right? Like, I feel like if someone grabs my arm and holds it up and just says, Yahweh, is your will for this man's life to be rich and famous? And like, I'm going to hold my arm up. Like, gonna. But Wickstrom, if he doesn't want me to be rich and famous, he's going to try to hold my arm down. I'm just going to fight it. But all these dinglings were just kind of letting him sling their arms around, I guess. I don't know. Ryan, he thinks this is cool. He quickly becomes Wickstrom's right-hand man in the 1980s and actually used the arm trick to attract his own followers who thought that he was like truly some sort of divine messenger. He wasn't. It didn't help that economic issues were severely impacting the farming communities in Kansas and Nebraska at the time where he lived, which forced people to turn to whatever religion they could find for hope. Because it's not, because when you can't do anything, you gotta that's one of the things that I think bothers me most about religion is rather than figuring out what you can do to contribute to something to make things better, you just kind of like, well, I hope God takes care of it. Oh, I'm going to put all my faith in God. God will take care of it. And I'm just going to sit back and let Jesus take the wheel. And I don't love that, right? Like, fine if you want to be like, oh, God helped me, get this entire community back on its feet. God gave me the power to do it. Fine. You still did something. If you don't want to take credit for it, that's fine. That's being humble. I get that. But to just kind of sit back like, oh man, this drought and this famine is really screwing up our crops. Well, I hope God knows what to do, because I sure don't. Just stuff like that. It just bothers me. During one rally in Rouleau, Nebraska, Ryan met Rick Stice, who was a widower and owner of a struggling pig farm. Stice invited Ryan's family, and the small group of followers that he had developed to live on his farm, where everyone began smoking weed, studying the Bible, and also stockpiling weapons for the impending Armageddon, because the Jews or whatever. Ryan soon began telling people that he was possessed by the Archangel Michael and spoke directly to Yahweh, and people were just like, yeah, probably. He began referring to himself as the king and revealed that Yahweh had commanded him to take 4 wives who he referred to as his queens. After Ryan told Stice to stop raising pigs because they weren't kosher, the cult began stealing cattle and farm equipment from neighboring farms. What items they didn't use for themselves were then sold to purchase more guns and ammunition and weed. In 1985, with the cult at 25 members, James Thiem and Rick Stice began questioning Ryan and whether or not Yahweh and the arm tests were totally legit. In response, Ryan demoted Thiem and Price to the role of slave, where they were forced to sleep outside and chained to the porch. Ryan also forced these dudes to have sex with each other, as well as with one of Stice's goats as punishment. And and maybe it was more the goat raping the dudes, because I don't know how you force a dude to bang a goat. Biology, if the dude doesn't want to do it, you can't jam a floppy wiener into a goat butthole that definitely doesn't want to be part of this. But I don't know. Maybe he was getting the goat. I don't know. I don't really. I'm curious, but I'm not. Anyway, even more. Ryan forced Stice to perform oral sex on his own 5-year-old son, Luke. That's crazy. But, that's what God commanded. As time went on, Ryan increased his abuse towards Luke, the 5-year-old. He would put ashes from his cigarette into Luke's mouth. He would spit on him, shoot him in the arm, and tie a whip around his neck and lift him off the ground with it. Finally, on March 25th, Ryan slammed Luke into a cabinet, giving him a head injury that killed him a short time later. When Rick Stice, the father, left the compound a couple of weeks later, Ryan then turned his abuse to James Thiem, which was the other guy who was questioning him to begin with. On April 27th, Thiem was beaten by Ryan and other cult members after they accused him of poisoning a turkey that they had eaten at a cult meal. After this meeting, they took Thiem out to a pig pen where cult members gave him a total of 75 lashes. They then shot off the tips of his fingers while Ryan broke his arm and removed the skin from his leg with a razor blade and a pair of pliers. What is happening? He then sodomized this dude with a shovel handle and then broke his legs. He then stomped on this guy's chest, breaking his ribs, before finally ordering another cult member to shoot him in the head. Mercifully, right? A month later, cult members James Haverkamp and John David Andreas were arrested for stealing farm machinery in Kansas. The two men quickly confessed to everything that was going on inside the cult, allowing police to raid the cult's compound where they found 150,000 rounds of ammunition and more than $250,000 worth of stolen property. Another raid in August revealed the unmarked graves of Luke Stice and James Thiem, that's what resulted in Ryan's arrest, not the other stolen ammunition and stolen property. Weird. Ryan and his son Dennis were both convicted of murder. Ryan was sentenced to death, while Dennis was given a life sentence and released after only serving 12 years. Ryan, unfortunately, died of cancer. I hope it was butt cancer. That would be fitting. He died on May 24th, 2015, and maintained that he had been following Yahweh's wishes all along. I don't know what kind of weed he smoked at the beginning, but it fried his brain. Moving on to Sachiko Eto, who was just a normal Japanese lady living a normal Japanese life. She had married her high school sweetheart. I hope, going back to last week's episode, I hope that she met her high school sweetheart after he broke into her house and asked to have sex with her. And I hope that they were just together after that. That'd be heartwarming. She worked as a cosmetics salesperson in the Tohoku region of Japan. But unfortunately, her husband suffered a back injury in 1990 and was forced to leave his job as a paint craftsman. Instead, he began drinking and gambling, which ultimately forced the couple to sell their home and move to the Gifu prefecture. Once they had settled in Gifu, they became involved in the Ogamiya-san. There we go. I got to say it like that to get it right. I'm sorry. So they came involved with the Ogamiya-san, which was this offshoot of the area's Shinto religion that focused primarily on faith healing. However, Eto began using the church's name without their permission and was subsequently kicked out. And even worse, her husband suffered a complete mental breakdown and just disappeared in 1992. Without her husband, Eto was forced to raise their daughter alone. She moved to Sukagawa, roughly 100 miles north of Tokyo, and began claiming to be a spiritual leader and a psychic and performed her own healings, which I can't imagine actually worked, but whatever. She did develop a following, she began claiming that she was a god and had the power to cast out demons, which, sure. These claims exponentially grew her following in the 1990s in Japan. Who would have thunk it? And many people began traveling from all over the country to have her heal them and get rid of, whatever Hello Kitty Pokemon demons that they had. Despite a seemingly never-ending line of cars parked along the street outside of Eto's home and the constant chanting and beating of taiko drums at all hours, neighbors were too scared of Eto to complain about her. When one neighbor tried to reasonably ask this woman to keep it down, Eto threatened to hypnotize her and make her lose control of her hands and feet. And I don't know, man. If my neighbor's blasting music and I tell them to keep it down and they're like, oh yeah? How about I hypnotize you and you lose control of your hands and feet? I'd be like, try me. Go ahead. You're crazy. But everyone else in Japan's taking that seriously. And as time went on, Obviously, the rituals became more violent. She began using the taiko drumsticks to beat her followers under the guise of killing the quote-unquote dirty body and driving out ugly devils. Eto also fell in love with one of her followers, Yutaka Nimoto, and grew extremely jealous whenever another female follower flirted with him. In one instance, Eto accused a female follower of being, quote, possessed by a bad fox and had her beaten nearly to death. In June of 1995, one of Eto's followers went to the hospital to seek treatment for injuries she had sustained during a ritual. She also informed hospital workers that her husband had mysteriously vanished shortly after visiting the cult. Curious about the complaints, police searched Eto's home and found 6 decomposing bodies, some of which had been mummified and wrapped in futon cushions. All of the bodies had been there for several months and had died after being beaten during one of Eto's rituals. Eto, her daughter, and 2 other followers were arrested. Eto explained that the bodies had been left to rot because, quote, the soul was not dead, just the bodies were, and I guess the soul was trapped. Even more, her followers indicated that they believed the bodies were just in a state of hibernation and would come back to life once the smell of rotting flesh went away. That's not how that works at all. During the trial, Eto insisted that the victims hadn't been killed on purpose, but had been possessed by ugly devils that she was trying to get rid of. Why, Your Honor, I did not cure them on the purpose. I cured them because they had been possessed by ugly devils. Ugly devils. And that is why the ugly devil killed them, not me, Your Honor. Anyway, she was given the death sentence and was hanged at the age of 65 on September 27th, 2012. Other cult members received prison sentences ranging from 3 years to life for their role in the beatings. Moving on now to 2003, when Paul Nthinga McKenzie founded the Good News International Ministries as a small church in Kenya. He had spent the previous 6 years working as a taxi driver in Nairobi, preaching his sermons to anyone who would listen and also just pay him to drive to their destinations. He had been arrested at least 4 times for his sermons, but was acquitted each time for a lack of evidence. Soon, McKenzie began claiming that he had the ability to personally communicate with God, which exponentially increased his church's followers. After splitting with his original business partner, Ruth Kahindi, over allegations that he was stealing tithes, he moved the congregation to Malindi, which is a small city on the coast of the Indian Ocean, about 300 miles east of Nairobi. With his new headquarters established, McKenzie started blogging, warning of the impending apocalypse and warning of his followers against committing demonic acts, like using credit cards and wearing wigs. Okay. In 2016, this is fairly recent, one of his followers sold their property on the island of Lamu for 20 million Kenyan shillings, which is about 150,000 US dollars, and gave all of the money to McKenzie, who then used it to buy properties in Malindi and Mombasa, 2 vehicles, and a ton of airtime on a television channel to broadcast his sermons. Others followers soon did the same thing, sold all of their property, and gave him all the money. McKenzie claimed that the end times were coming any day now, like they've all been doing for the past hundreds of years. When he wasn't preaching about the apocalypse, he was preaching against Western culture and the evil things they promoted, like medical services, education. Can't be smart. You can't be a critical thinker and an intelligent person and also listen to this dude who thinks or who claims that he can talk directly to God. You have to be stupid. Legitimately stupid to believe it. And so, of course, education's bad. He also thought food was evil, sports, and music also evil. And here's the thing, all right? The last 2, that's been pretty standard hardcore conservative Christianity for a while. I grew up, sports were fine, but music, if it's not in a hymnal, it's bad. Anything else is bad. So I don't, I get him on that one. He also claimed that the Catholic Church, the United States, and the United Nations were all tools of Satan. To do what? I don't know. The following year, McKenzie and his wife Joyce were charged with promoting radicalization, denying children access to healthcare and education, and running an unauthorized school and television station. Although they were acquitted of all of these charges, the Kenya Film Classification Board forced them to close the television station. Even more, it was soon discovered that several children had died of malnourishment, forcing government authorities to go in and rescue 93 other kids from this church. In 2018, McKenzie was criticized by politicians and other activists for encouraging children to drop out of school and devote their lives to God, because the end of the world's coming. Why bother continuing to go to school? It's just a waste of time. He was arrested again in 2019 for inciting the public against registering for the Huduma Namba program, which was this government program that would assign a unique identification number to every citizen at birth or upon registration that would allow access to government services and allow for travel in the East African region, kind of like a Social Security / passport. McKenzie, he thought that was the mark of the beast. Anything like that's, any number from the government, that's the mark of the beast. There's dinglings out there who think your Social Security card and number is the mark of the beast, or your driver's license number is the mark of the beast. It's not. It's just how you can get government services and prove citizenship. That's it. It's nothing more than that. Well, seeing as most governments didn't like McKenzie brainwashing children into dropping out of school and devoting their lives to him, McKenzie closed the church altogether and moved the congregation to a remote location in the Shakahola forest, where he began claiming that the world would end on April 15th, 2023. He instructed his followers to all gather together and destroy all of their government documents if they wanted to go to heaven. Well, when the COVID-19 pandemic erupted in March of 2020, waves of people remembered all of the things that McKenzie was saying and panicked and fled to the forest to join this guy's cult. And he probably can't believe his luck at this point. He's like, global pandemic? That's like the closest we're going to definitely get to the apocalypse. From there, with all of these new followers, McKenzie laid out a new set of instructions for how people would be able to leave this world and ascend to heaven. How would they do it? Mass starvation. The children would be the first to die, and as instructed by McKenzie, be left in the sun so they would die faster. That's nuts. The women would die next, followed by the remaining men. But because McKenzie was such a good guy and a servant of God, he was going to keep eating and stay healthy in order to be able to have the energy and the strength to help lead all of the people to Jesus, of course. After about 3 years of this, in April of 2023, coming up on the deadline for the apocalypse, a man contacted police claiming that his wife and daughter had left Nairobi to join McKenzie's cult in the Shakahola forest and had not come back. I don't know why he thought they would. They left to join the cult, dude. Police eventually found the community and were completely shocked by what they found. Over the next 3 weeks, police scoured the 800-acre commune and found dozens of shallow graves of McKenzie's followers who had been ordered to starve themselves to death in order to meet Jesus. Some, however, showed signs of being murdered after McKenzie hired criminals to come in with, quote, crude weapons. I don't know what that means, but probably blunt objects of some sort. But he hired these criminals to come in and kill followers who changed their mind about starving themselves. He also ordered them to kill anyone who was taking too long to die. Only 15 people were found alive when police initially showed up. 4 of them died on the way to the hospital. One of the survivors had been buried alive 3 days before police showed up. Soon, healthier members of the cult began emerging from the forest and hindering police efforts to clear the scene. Not, hey, police, we screwed up. Sorry, please help us. But no, actually preventing them from recovering the bodies. After a month of searching, 133 bodies were found, most of them children. The Kenyan Red Cross soon reported that as many as 410 people, including 227 children, were missing. By September, the number of bodies discovered at the site was more than 450, with now 613 more people reported missing. Although 214 died of starvation, 39 were strangled, and 14 had blunt force trauma to their heads. Some of the bodies were allegedly missing organs. Mackenzie and his new wife now, Rhoda Mumbua, I don't know. Who cares? And 34 other church leaders were arrested over the summer months for murder and other terrorism-related charges. To make things worse, 65 survivors from the commune were charged with a misdemeanor because attempting suicide is illegal in Kenya and punishable by up to 2 years in prison. So, like, if you're going to do it, then you better do it. Because the rescue centers were at capacity with other survivors, many of the victims were sent to jail where they were forced to eat and undergo mental health assessments. Mackenzie was eventually charged with the murders of 191 children, but pleaded not guilty because obviously this was all of God's idea. Because of the amount of co-defendants in the case against Mackenzie, his trial was put on pause due to a lack of lawyers available to represent all of the people involved in this. In 2024, the court ordered prosecutors to reduce his charges from 191 to just 12, just to avoid delays and all of the paperwork that needed to be done. Because look, if you can convict him of 12, he's probably going to get the same punishment as if you convict him of 191, so it doesn't really matter. Beyond that, though, I don't think he's actually gone on trial yet. I haven't seen any updates on it. They continue to exhume the area where the commune was. They keep finding more bodies. And so, you know, if an update comes out, I'll probably include it in a future episode. All done. There we go. Part 2 of some stories about cults in the books. You get it. I say the same thing every week. In case you needed a reminder, when I do say that for a reason, because they are literally in the books that I wrote. Go to johnhensonwrites.com, see them all. Other than that, let's recap and see what we learned today.
What did we learn?
Number 1, Michael Ryan smoked some crazy weed. And then he just kind of started telling people that he was talking directly from God, made a dude have sex with a goat and blow his own kid. That is just wild stuff. Number 2, what was number 2? Sachiko Eto. She just kind of running a cult and just was beating people to death because they were, had ugly demons or something in them. Anyway, and then number 3, Good News International Ministries really capitalized on COVID to make people think that the end of the world was coming. And now because of it, like hundreds, mostly kids, but hundreds of people in Kenya were dead.
What did we learn?
Next week on the show, this is going to be a good episode, all right? Every now and then, I find these crazy stories that I can guarantee you've never heard, all right? Like, even if you are super deep into true crime or cults or serial killers or whatever it is, right? Like, a lot of the stories that I do, there's a decent chance someone out there, there's no way you've ever heard this story. All right. It's real dumb. It's pretty complicated. So I'm going to do my best to make it make sense. But we are looking at Branch Vine Dresser and the Dominion of Melchizedek. I don't know how to explain it to you other than like, it's a dude who was like a con man, but also a wannabe cult leader who just failed at almost everything, but at the same time was also weirdly successful. It's all over the place, and it's going to be fun. So we're going to cover that next week. Thank you so much for continuing to listen. Keep telling all your friends.
This is a podcast